Clarke.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away. To get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clarke 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Picked up with the ball. Go on, Higgy. You beauty! You Scouser Teesside beauty!
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends, banter and rivalry across the northeast on the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
Fellas, how are you?
All good, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, sounding a bit muted. We're having Wi-Fi connection problems with Daz. Is that because he, Sunderland this week doesn't want to join us? What's going on here?
Well, they haven't joined the party, have they? It's only been Newcastle and Middlesbrough. That's what it's been all about this week. Nothing happening at Sunderland, really. We've got the three Mikes now, haven't we? Mike Beale, Mike Dodds and Mike Proctor up there, so
indeed
he'll just be cracking on with that, won't he?
I think he's sorted the soldier nine out. Daz here with us, mate. Good to have you.
Cheers, mate. Honestly, what a time! What a time for the network to go down.
Is 6th of January going to be called El Makio?
I'll disappear if we get battered.
I tell you what, fellas, I've come up with a great radio idea. It's Mike and Mike in the morning. What a show that would be.
Well, we've had the two mics. They've just gone and done the three mics now, haven't they?
Well, where are you going to start, fellas?
Well,
I think
Higgy has to.
He's flying.
Well, I think so. We've had a great week, haven't we? Beat Swansea.
He's had a great result in the league, and they've got to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. Higgy, the floor's yours, pal.
Well, listen, the Swansea game wasn't a classic. I was at it, but it could have been 4 down at half-time. But they kept going. No quality, or very little quality, but somehow managed to get a result. And to win that game 2-1 was, at the end of it, you're thinking, how have they done that? Because it was such a non-event, the game. I mean, Swansea, they missed 4 or 5 unbelievable chances first half. They scored in the second half, and honestly, it could have been anything, the game. But to see Borough come out 2-1 was great, because they stuck at it. They got better as the game went on, kept a half-decent shape throughout, worked hard, but had no quality about it at all. And the 2 goals, they only had 1 shot first half and scored with it. Sam Greenwood it was, and then it was a comedy of errors. The winner, it was a back pass, keeper picked it up, ball was placed on a 6-yard box, and honestly, you want to see the Swansea wall. You've never seen a bigger load of bottlers standing on a wall in all your life. They were all on the line.
Bottles.
Honestly, 3 of them ran out and jumped and left a massive gap in the near post, which Sammy Silvera found. It was frightening.
Higgy, do you know, when we spoke last week, and I was saying about Borough, tightening up at the back and being a bit more solid to beat, and probably not as good as on the eye with that football that Michael wants them to play. Was that how the game panned out, or?
No, Clarky, because they gave so many chances away.
Right.
It was unbelievable. It was. They got battered first half, absolutely battered, and couldn't stop Swansea from breaking through. But Swansea, honestly, for all the possession they had and the chances they created, their finishing was so bad. And that really was why Borough was still in the game, because their finishing was unbelievably bad, and they paid for it. So fair play to Borough for sticking at it. And like I say, they did get better as the second half wore on. They got better, and in the end, Borough looked like they could have went on and scored more. They hit the bar right at the end. I think Isaiah Jones hit the bar, could have been 3. But it was just one of them ugly games that you forget about. And the main thing was the result. Yeah, and then I watched the cup game. Yeah, then I watched the cup game, and I thought it was very similar. You know, Borough looked all right between the two boxes, kept the ball, didn't play with any great pace. Even though they scored 3, I thought they were missing a bit of quality. I thought the quality, Port Vale was so poor and really poor, and it baffles me how they've got that far in the competition, if I'm being totally honest and brutal. But Borough weren't anywhere near their best and won it at a canter. I just thought they were missing quality. They had no quality.
Now they're going to get a test, aren't they? In the semi-final with the clubs that are in it. So there's going to
I'm half scared, Clarky. I'm half scared.
I know it's over 2 games, so you know.
But that's the worry, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's worrying going to a Premier League and to do that over 2 legs is a massive ask after what I've seen the last couple of games. It's
What do you think, though, in terms of, like, at the start of the season? I mean, them just on the outside of the playoffs, semi-final of the Carabao Cup, going into the Christmas and festive period, which is always a tough time. Would you have took that at the start of the season, or are you still a little bit disappointed?
I'd have took the semis of the Cup, that's for sure. I did. Seeing the people that they lost in the summer was a big issue, and you knew you couldn't replace what they lost. You know, they lost all the goals and creativity in the team. Archer, Ramsey, Akpom, Giles providing from the left. It's all gone, and you know, couple that with Riley McGree's been out injured for a good while, so they've had no real threat. I mean, Lati Latha's come in and scored some goals and tries really hard. Runs about, makes a nuisance of himself, and he can be a threat. Just needs to calm down a little bit in front of goal. You know, missing that little bit of quality, I suppose. Missing a goal scorer. So I think where they are now, I'd have liked them to be in a little bit closer to the playoffs, but it's still, you know, it's still only Christmas. They could get players back and go on a big run. But I think it's going to take a good run. And the Championship being the way it is, the top 4 teams may be, I think, are set. After that, you'd fancy some teams to go on a really bad run, because I think everyone's really evenly matched, and on the day, anyone can beat anyone in that Championship. And I still wouldn't rule out the playoffs for them, but I think they're going to have their best team to be able to compete with the best teams.
Obviously, as you know, I listen to what you and Daz are saying about the Championship week in, week out, and through the week I watched the Birmingham Leicester game, and I thought they were outstanding, and everything that you had said about them, you said lots of positive things about Leicester. I just thought whatever Birmingham threw at them, you know, when they kept coming back in the game, Leicester had everything. They could play great football, they could be competitive, they could take the pressure, then hit you on the break. Thought Dewsbury Hall looked a class above. So what you 2 lads have been saying about Leicester, watching the Championship on a regular basis, when I watched that game, I thought, yeah, they're nailed on to get promoted. I know you cannot guarantee that by Christmas, but I think that's a good chance they're going to go back straight in the Premier League. So you've got one more automatic slot, then you've obviously got the 4 places. So it's a tough one, isn't it? When it seems to be changing week by week. When I look at the Championship table, you're seeing teams in the playoff positions, out the playoff positions, dropping down the table, which is nothing new for the Championship. And we always know it's a really tough league, but it just changes so quickly and so often, doesn't it?
It's because it's so close in there, like, you know, with the points, and your points are so close in that area, the table. You know, Leicester, like we've said about Leicester, you know, they're showing the quality week in, week out, and that shows with the gap that they're producing at the top of the table. And Higgy's touching on there. You know, the last 2 Middlesbrough games have been a bit ugly, but you know, sometimes it's not a bad thing to win the ugly games. You know, because you know, you pick up the points and you stay within touch and within reach of it. You know, but that area of the table, mate, like you say, if you get a couple of defeats, you know, you can be down in the bottom half in no time.
Well, listen,
that's what's happened. But that's what happened with Borough, wasn't it? They lost a few games.
Sorry, Higgy. Go on.
That's okay. They lost 3 games in a spin, Borough, and found themselves 13th. You know, they were dropped right down and away from it. And I think now they're about 5 points off it. The only constant really in that league has been Leicester and Ipswich. They've been the two teams. I mean, Ipswich have made ground up on Leicester. It's amazing, really, what Ipswich have done. And I've been really impressed with Ipswich. And everyone keeps saying, Leeds will probably catch them. I'm not so sure. Because they've got into a really good groove, and they've got a right.
Ipswich's next two games is Leeds and Leicester, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you'll see there, and do you know what? I fancy them to get a result in one of them. Maybe the Leicester one. I don't know that the Leicester one might be a tough one, but I think they're more than capable of getting a result against Leeds. And I expect them to get at least one good result in those two games. I haven't seen them because they're just every week they're 7 out of 10 every week.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes they might go 8, but they never drop below 7.
They were very impressive against Birmingham. What I'll say, lads, is Daz makes a good point. Sometimes you just got to grind those results out, even when you're a good team. I mean, we've all three of us have been in teams that have got promoted as from the Championship as winners, but we've had top quality players and we've played exciting football for the majority of the season. But there has been spells and there was campaigns where we've just had to dig out results. You've got to go to places and dig things out, and your defenders come out on top, and you've got someone at the top end of the pitch who produces a bit of magic and wins you the game 1-0. I think all three will understand, especially in the Championship, that has to happen. You're not going to play 46 games where your football's going to be top draw and you're going to be battering teams with possession and making loads of chances. Teams are going to try different tactics against you, so you've got to come up with answers. So I think that's an important part. What Daz said about what Leicester have had to do and other clubs. So,
well, I think the injury list for Borough's getting a little bit worrying as well. They've had, I think Isaiah Jones came off the other night, injured. Looks like Morgan Rogers got injured the other night as well. And that you just keep piling up. Fours isn't back yet.
Higgy,
Lenahan's out.
Can I ask you a question on this? And this is to everyone, to Daz and everyone on the show, because this is a problem at Newcastle as well, and we've got the support staff at these clubs now. Newcastle Premier League, Middlesbrough behave like a Premier League club, so they're the staff that they'll have. So the support staff, sports scientists, physiotherapists, massagers, chiropractors, all these doctors, medical setup like you wouldn't believe. But it seems to be clubs are getting more and more injuries. So what we're putting this down to, because I'm speaking with a few of my friends while the games are going on, and earlier in the week when Newcastle lost to Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, Anthony Gordon's having to go off before an hour, and this is happening every game to us. We're losing 2 and 3 players a game to injuries, and what injury list is going into the 14s, 15s, 16s, like senior players. So I'm trying to say, like, is this questions to the medical departments of the football club? Because they haven't got more. At this day and age, they've got the best data, they've got the most data, they've got the most sophisticated training programs or whatever. What's going on? Because you're saying Borough have got the same, they've got a horrendous injury.
Well, they have. I mean, Lath's another one who went off the other night. So if Josh Coburn's injured, so they haven't really got any centre forwards. Young Callum Kavanagh's come on.
I've seen that, mate. I've seen Cavan come on,
Yeah, he came on and played a few minutes at the end, which was great to see. But and he should have scored, by the way. He got himself in a great position. So I put it down to a combination of stuff. I put it down to obviously the games. The games are getting a little bit quicker, I think. I don't know what training's obviously got a lot to do with it, and I don't know how they train or how hard they train from on a weekly basis. I think the pitches I think are harder now than they ever were. But still,
you've got to remember,
you've said it there, you've got all the data.
You've got to remember some of the pitches. You see, in the pitches have got harder. Some of the pitches we had to play football on were like quagmires in the winter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They were heavier. They were heavier, I think, the pitches
of course they were,
back then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking about the the finance that's been put into these medical and these medical teams and sports science teams, and I always back Middlesbrough to have that a Premier League environment. I mean, I know Sunderland are cutting their cloth accordingly, but I would say that they've still got a high quality medical department. But you're just seeing players going down for fun on a regular basis. It worries me. As I said, I watched midweek Newcastle in the Carabao Cup to Chelsea, and Gordon's gone down. I was there at the weekend against Fulham. You're losing Shaw and you're losing Joe Linton, and you've already got many players out with long-term injuries, you know. So I don't know. I just start thinking to myself, is the right processes being put in place, or are they undercooking the players at the start of pre-season, or do you know what I mean? Or when the managers are wanting to push them, or the sports science and the medical teams stepping in too quickly and saying no, we can't do that. So when the managers are pushing them during the course of the season, they haven't got the fitness levels to go to where they want to be.
But there's some clubs, isn't there, Clarky, where the sports
demand
scientists,
on the body, isn't it?
Yeah, the sports scientists run the clubs. They say, well, he's done this, you know, his load's been X amount this week, so be careful with him, and he can't do this.
The good thing about a club that obviously close to your heart, Liverpool, and my son's in, the manager has a sports science degree, so he understands the concept of sports science, and he wants a high intensity front foot football team. So he pushes the players to their max and their limits in the training sessions, because he wants them to play that way. Newcastle United do. Eddie Howe has got a front foot mentality, high intensity. But what's happening with the players is we're having so many game by game falling back. That derailed us. That's derailed our Champions League campaign without a shadow of a doubt, without trying to make excuses. The amount of players, but that's what I'm saying. You're seeing it with Borough now, and can that derail what they're trying to do to try and get promoted?
Oh, well, I think it's already had an effect, Clarky, with the 3 games that they lost on the spin before the Swansea one. That was due to injuries for me. You know, they haven't been able to feel their best 11 for a while now, and I think it does take its toll. And like I said, especially when they play the top teams in the league, I think Borough need their best players fit and in the team to be able to compete with the teams at the top of that league. That's what you know. They haven't got a massive squad. They've got a squad that's capable when it's all fit and together. And at the moment, it's not. They've got so many injuries. They've had quite a lot of long-term ones as well, or ones that you think. I mean, listen, Borough don't really talk about the injuries. They don't tell you who's done what and how long they think he'll be out. They're back when they're back, and that's it. Michael never talks about, you know, we think he'll be back next week, or never puts a time limit on anything. But a lot of them have gone off with like little ankle knocks, or, you know, twisted an ankle or whatever, and you don't see them again for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's massive for them. It's massive for Middlesbrough.
I think it's massive for a lot of clubs, mate, when you get that many injuries, isn't it? You know, it does affect teams, you know, and like you say, you know, you want to compete, but, you know, when your squad's so small and so, you know, so fragile, when you lose that amount of players, you know, it does affect you, and it's going to affect you.
Yeah, well, the other thing is players, you don't know how players' bodies are, do you? I mean, you can play a certain way, and I know Clarke mentioned Klopp there. He wants to play at a high tempo, and unless you push your body and get it used to playing like that all the time, then it's got no time to
You're
adapt.
Going to get soft tissue injuries. Yeah,
exactly. But you know, people like Naby Keita, he went to Liverpool. He couldn't get fit. He couldn't play. He couldn't play more than 2 games on the.
He never bought into the mentality, Higgy. He never bought into the mentality.
But he's done it at his new club as well, Clarke. He's only played 80 minutes in 3 games, over 3 games, and he's been there a season and a bit.
Yeah.
It's just it is. I think a lot of that has got to do with player mentality as well.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
There's a whole host of things that can contribute towards it.
So obviously the last 2 games, a great away win. I know you said it wasn't a great game, but any away win is a good win down at Swansea.
Yeah.
Getting to the semi-final of the Cup. coming up to West Brom at the weekend. Tough game because they're in the playoff slots. Do you think the spirit will be high for them to go and get a result there?
Well, I hope so. It should be, shouldn't it? You know, with two good results, two good wins, away wins, like you say. They've had a struggle at home recently, but with a little bit of confidence, and hopefully, like I say, they might get one or two back. I hope, because I hope they haven't lost. I mean, Senny Dieng went off injured last week, and Glover was in goal in the cup game. So, I mean, there's another one. You know, I hope it just doesn't pile up and get on top of them. And like you say, you know, the effect it's had on Newcastle's season, I hope it doesn't have the effect on Borough's season, because they've got a chance still. You know, they're not far away from the playoffs. They're 5 points. They've got some good games coming up over Christmas. I just want to see them in touch come January, and then January, whether they bring anyone in or not, I don't know, but they'll have the option to, I'm sure. And, you know, it'll give other lads a chance to get fit and get back, and then have a good push between then and the end of the season, because it is tight. You know, we see Sunderland dropped away and then had a couple of wins under Dodgy, and then suddenly they're back in the playoff spot, and then it doesn't take much. You know, 2 or 3 games and you're right in the mix again, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think they should be full of confidence, Clarky. I think they should be up for it and looking forward to games coming now. Hopefully they don't have one eye on the semi-final that's coming up. So that's you know, I don't want them to do that. That's for the new year
now, isn't it? That's for the new year.
Yeah, well, he can put that to bed a little bit, can't he?
Yeah.
It'll be in the back of their minds. It always is. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah,
you get a big team, and it's going to be in the back of your mind. And then as it gets closer, you're thinking, "Oh, I don't want to get injured for this one." And
you're the perfect person to answer that, because obviously you were part of the Borough lads who got the cup finals and that year then got relegated, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the feeling then? Did the cup stuff take over the league stuff, or psychologically?
It was games.
When you look back,
it was games, Clarky. I mean, at the end of that season, I think we played about 7 games. Yeah, I think it was just a build-up, because we got to both cup finals in the same year. And there was a build. I think we played something like 7 games in 15 days.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
It was stupid. Like, the lads were shattered.
When you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday at one point.
Yeah. It was like... And we didn't have a massive squad at the time.
And you're picking up injuries and suspensions, even little kicks, knocks and niggles where lads kind of play the next game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was just.
Did you get the impression that some players maybe were saving themselves for the cup finals, or not?
We had a couple of people who played with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And played in the big games with injuries and wouldn't say. But then it was found out, you know, they got found out. Like Ravanelli went off with a hamstring injury at Old Trafford, never going to be fit for a cup final, but miraculously, like 3 weeks later, I think he was fit.
Tried to play in it.
Yeah, and then he got brought up. I think Robbie Muster was another one who had an injury, but he had to come off fairly early.
But even injuries aside, Higgy, like it's a demand on the body, that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it's massive.
You know, that's 7 games.
I mean, listen, Robbie Musto was as good a pro as you'll ever meet in your life, and he was just trying to get through game by game, and he was a really hard-working player, honest as you want, really great lad, Robbie. And that's the way that there was a lot of lads like that who were trying to push themselves.
To be honest with you, mate, a team that gets to both cup finals is usually a team at the top of the league, and they've got a big squad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a team like yous who were fighting relegation. Like you've just said, you probably didn't have you definitely didn't have a big enough squad, but you've got the 2 cup finals and you're fighting a relegation battle as well.
Yeah. Well, that was the year Emo went back to Brazil and never come back. He went to the carnival and we didn't see him again for about 4 weeks. I think he came back the day we played Derby in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. He was only going home for Christmas.
You more weird as one, wasn't it? He was a big player, because obviously
he was a massive player.
I played against him. He was top class. He was quality. He was a really top player. So obviously you're going to miss a player of his quality, aren't you?
Yeah, and we did, but that was just a bizarre season. I think you'd struggle to see another season like that.
Yeah.
3 cup finals in 11 months.
Was that the year you got
we got
deducted the 3 points? Was that
the
year
we
you
got
deducted the 3 points?
We went down because of them, didn't we? Did we go down by a point?
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
And we got deducted the 3 points, which,
How did you feel as players about that decision?
Well, we were gutted because...
Yeah, I mean the decision of the manager and the club not to play the game because you had that many players ill and
yeah,
injured.
well, you take all that for face value, don't you, Clarky? When they come and say to you, "Oh, look, we were speaking to the FA. Obviously, we had a bug going round. There was a lot of players missing, a lot of players ill, playing some young lads. If we have to go and play the game, we'll take the youths as well." But you take all that for face value. They come back, said they've spoke to the FA and everything's all right. We can cancel the game, so don't worry about it. I think we even trained on that morning. The fit lads trained on that morning of the game. Listen, hindsight's great because if you knew that now, you'd just turn up with 8 players, wouldn't you, and play the game? And you could get beat 10-0 and it wouldn't matter. You'd still stay up.
Exactly.
So it was a weird one. And they fought the FA and something to court and everything, but you're never going to win that battle, are you? It was unjust, really. But you don't know the conversations that have gone on behind the scenes. Did they get permission? They say they've got permission off the FA, but then the FA say, well, you didn't get permission off us, so you don't know, do you? Who's doing what? And it was just it was a bit of a farce that season.
The club's doing well. It's in a great position at the minute, challenging for the top 6, semi-final of the Carabao Cup. So positive things ahead.
Yeah,
indeed. Time to take a quick break. It is the 3 legends across the northeast. You can WhatsApp your messages through to the lads 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. We'll be right back.
Banter at its best. Across the northeast, it's the 3 legends.
The Cat, the Tune and the Red.
So, Borough through the semi-finals. We have got a quick comment in, actually. Pete in Billingham, it's more of a statement, says, "Oh, Higgy, nice to see the Borough flying the northeast flag in the cup." So there you go. So Borough through to the semis of the League Cup. That's going to happen in January. But Newcastle not. Clarky, what on earth happened against Chelsea?
Aye, Dave, it was
you had it
a
in
really
the bag?
tough one. Well, we did and we didn't. I've got to say, we started really well in the game, got 1 up, but then Chelsea put under a lot of pressure. But when you get that far into the game, injuries time, you think, they can see it out. And one of our most outstanding, consistent players makes a little error and allows them to score, then all of a sudden you've got the lottery of the penalties, isn't it? That's what it is. It's a lottery.
Of course it is, mate. I mean, penalties, we all know how that goes, let's be honest. But
me and you've been there, Daz, playoff final.
Definitely, mate.
Want that again.
Unbelievable, mate. No, never again, mate. Never again. But yeah, I mean, I was a bit disappointed because obviously, Newcastle were ahead, and obviously, they looked all right and comfortable. But mistakes happen in games, don't they? Let's be honest, and it's unfortunate. But for me, obviously it would have been great to see Newcastle go through. The more northeast teams we can get further up the tables or further in the cups is only a blessing for the northeast, isn't it? Let's be honest.
No, I totally agree with you, Daz. I would have loved to have seen both Middlesbrough and Newcastle in the last 4 of the Carabao Cup.
Well, we wanted that as a semi, didn't we?
Well, we did. I'd have loved that as a semi because they'd have played Sunderland in the FA Cup and then Borough in the League Cup, so it would have been great. It would have been great.
Well, yeah, it would have been terrific, and like you say, we've always said all 3 we want the 3 clubs to be successful, whether that's in league programme or cup ties and that. So, but it wasn't to be. It was a tough one. We were under pressure. I'm not going to say we were dominant in the game. We did start the game well, but Chelsea pushed us back, and That wasn't to be. That them awful.
Do you know what? I
penalties.
thought, Clarky, I thought Newcastle were going to see it out, and the time I thought they were going to see it out was, did you see the Conor Gallagher penalty that he's tried to con?
Yes.
I mean, how he didn't get a yellow card for that, I don't know. It was scandalous, really, wasn't it? Bit of cheating going on.
To be fair, Higgy, there was a couple of. I mean, there could have been a red card after a couple of minutes. Caicedos on Anthony Gordon, but that just sounds like it's after the event. You're moaning and groaning. So there was. I was just surprised. I didn't understand the situation. I've got to say, when two Premier League clubs were competing, there's no VAR involved. Dave, can you shed some light on that or not?
It's the competition itself. They're not bringing it in until the semis.
Ah,
Is that right? So it's definitely in the semis?
Definitely in the semis. I don't know what they're going to do at the Riverside.
Exactly,
Well, I
because
don't either.
Middlesbrough aren't a club who has it, so I've got no idea. I just thought if there was a club outside of the Premier League, they didn't use the VAR, so it was the same for both teams. So I thought it would have been both teams from the Premier League. We could have had the VAR.
Yeah, just competition rules. That's all it was. So even though VAR was there, it wasn't switched on. So they said from the off that VAR would only be brought in at the semi stage.
I'll tell you what, though, wasn't it refreshing to watch a game without VAR? Two Premier League clubs playing, no stops, games not stop and start. There's nothing stupid about it. It's just a good, honest, blood and thunder game.
No 11 minutes added.
Yeah, and no one's talking about VAR or why didn't VAR look at that or why didn't VAR look at that.
Yeah.
No one's mentioned anything about VAR.
No.
Correct.
No,
Higgy.
Mind you, if VAR was in, you could have had a couple of red cards because Bruno's challenged towards the end as well. I mean, you just don't know. You know, it was the Aussie ref again, wasn't it? The one who did Sunderland Borough.
Yes.
Yeah.
He got that
like
one
Higgy
right.
said, like Higgy said, though, it's the referee using his own eyes, common sense. He referees the game that he sees fit, and you'll not have the controversy that you would have had if VAR was involved.
No.
Well, it's going back to the old days, isn't it? Where it's like, okay, referee might have made a mistake, but you're talking about the game.
Yeah, that's what we should
Exactly.
be doing. We should be talking about the game. And people should be in the pub saying, I thought he should have got booked for that, or he could have got sent off for that, couldn't he? Or no one's going to say, the ref was a divvy for not sending him off, or this, that, and the other. But VAR sort of highlights. I think it's hard for the refs as well, because it highlights some of their errors when there's no need to, and no one would talk about their errors if VAR didn't highlight them. You know, all this stuff about running over to the TV and all that, you know what's going to happen as soon as that happens. I think Michael Oliver's the only one who's ever said, no, I'm sticking with my original on-pitch decision.
Yeah.
I seen there was a call this week, wasn't it? Neil Warnock had said something about, you should get a group of players and coaches to help along with it if they're going to keep it. But he's not the only one who said that. He's on about changing the rules again for more daylight, and you can it's only offside if there's daylight between the attacker and defender, and it's all common sense stuff, isn't it? That makes the game better and more attractive to watch. We want to see goals. We don't want to see VAR trying to chalk off a goal every time that a goal is scored. So it's just. I mean, I was at the Liverpool Man United game, and even though VAR was involved in that, it was some of the stuff they were looking at was like you're thinking, what? And why are you taking that long looking at it? And the one they did look at, the Luke Shaw one, or they may have looked at it and thought it wasn't a pen. I thought it was a pen, and I thought it was a pen in real time. But for whatever reason, they've seen it all, and when there was a cross and it bounced up and it's cut and it's hit his arm, and his arm's out, and if it goes past him, it's going to go to a Liverpool player. I just think I don't know what the rule is anymore for. You'll see that in a different game, and it'll be given as a pen. And you'll see it in another game, and nothing will happen with it. So it's the consistency bit, isn't it, with it all?
I'd just like to pull it back to the game. Clarke, Trippier has been one of the most steady away, reliable players that Newcastle have had. I mean, he's been an absolute rock, but he's going through a hell of a run at the moment. I mean, another error. He had a nightmare. He was tortured by Son against Spurs, the Everton mistakes. How difficult is it for a player to get out of a rut like he's finding himself in at the minute?
Well, Dave, I'll go even further to say that he's probably been one of the best signings the club's ever made. He's a fantastic player. He's an unbelievable leader. Over the last 2 years, he's been superb. But over the last 2 or 3 weeks, like you say, he's had the second half at Everton. He's had the whole game at Tottenham. And then he's had those horrible 10 minutes in the game against Chelsea midweek.
It's since the Bournemouth incident, Clarke, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah, that's a good point, Higgy. That is a good point. And it's just, it's took the most consistent player we've had over a period of time, who's cost us, you know, he was at fault for 2 goals against Everton. Son obviously gave him a real tough afternoon down at Spurs, and then that goal through the week, he's made a tough decision, and then obviously missing the penalty. It's just been an awful period for him. So you hope you're thinking when Eddie leaves him out in the week against Chelsea, he's given him a bit of time to have a breather and all that and recharge the batteries. And when he comes on, it's, oh God. You don't want to say that we're good players and good people, but we've all been there. It happens. The game's up and down, isn't it? You have unbelievable periods and you have tough periods. No doubt he's got so much experience he can come through it.
Do you think he needs a bit of a rest?
I would say no. I would think he doesn't, but I've got to say, Daz, over the last few games, the mistakes he's making are so uncharacteristic. Maybe he does. Maybe he does need a couple of games out the firing line and then just brought back in, because he has been at the forefront of everything we've done. He's been a real leader of everything. You know, he came in that summer when Eddie brought the Premier League lads experience in when we're down the bottom of the table, and he helped us stay in the league, and then he's helped us kick on to the levels we're at now and played a massive part in that. So you could be right.
And that's what I'm thinking, mate. He's had such a demand, you know, of games and obviously game time, etc. And you know, a lot's been on him. You know, I don't mean that from a you know, for any disrespectful point of view. I just think, does he need a little bit of a breather? Like, you know, let's recharge the batteries, let's get the body right, let's get the mind right. You know, and then he goes again.
How old is he, Clarke? Is he?
I think he's about 32, 33. So he's
not overly old.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's, you know, over the last 4-6 weeks, Higgy, the players have been asked to go to the well so often. You know, there was a period where there was about 5 or 6 games in the Premier League and the Champions League where they were having to play the same 10 outfield players with no substitutions. And maybe that's took its toll on him, I don't know.
And that's what I was going to ask, because with the injury situation that United's got, it's not that easy, is it, saying we'll give Trippier a rest?
No, it isn't.
Mate. True.
What you've got now is you've got Dan Burn come back, you've got Botman back, so you could put Dan Burn in at left back, you can put Livramento, who's been outstanding, by the way, terrific young player. You could put him in at right back, and then just take your time from there. But and you've got the psychological thing with Trippier, so if you do that, does he think, oh, the manager doesn't believe in us anymore or whatever? It's just it's a lot of things, lads. I think it's the manager sitting down with him, an experienced player, and talking through the next few weeks and what the plans are for him.
And is that what it is now? Is it almost a psychological thing with him now, why he's making these mistakes? Or is it just real rank bad luck?
It could be combined, both of them. But I think it could. When I'm watching the game earlier in the week against Chelsea, I'm thinking that uncharacteristic mistake. So I'm thinking it could be in his mind. It could be playing on his mind, because those last 2.5, 3 games, when he's made uncharacteristic errors that have cost us goals, has totally not been him. You know, as Newcastle fans, you never ever thought, worried about Kieran Trippier's performances. You thought he was going to be guaranteed them, but obviously in the last few weeks there's been one or two errors, which is normal, by the way. That's the normal life of a footballer. It doesn't matter how good you are, you'll always have a little bit of a down, and that's a concern. Concern's not the real word. That's what you'll be thinking about if anyhow. You're not concerned about a player like Kieran Trippier because you know he's top draw, and you know it's just a little. It's an issue he's going through, a blip or whatever people want to call it. He'll come out.
Eddie's the type, though, Clarky, isn't he, to get them in if there is something going on and just ask him if he's all right and if there's anything he can do to help. He's that type, isn't he?
I think so, Higgy. I think he takes a lot of time on the personal side and the professional side, and he wants to know about how the family life's going on. So, no doubt, there'll be conversations in private going on like that, and he'll find out. He'll get the root of the problem, and he'll get Kieran back on track.
It's the Three Legends across the northeast on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. 6 till 7 every Friday. Coming up after the Three Legends, of course, Ian Murter, 38th season, writing about northeast football. Ian's here at 7 o'clock with black and white and red all over. He joins us now to give us a brief look at what's coming up on the show, Ian.
Merry Christmas, Dave. Merry Christmas, Clarky.
All right, Ian.
Craig, and Merry Christmas, Darren. I suspect Craig will be feeling happier after this week's results.
Oh, yes. You can already tell on the show. But what's to come? 7 till 8. It is, of course, black, white, red all over. What we're talking?
Well, we've been talking a lot about Sunderland managerial changes over the last week and Newcastle in Europe. So I think it's very, very appropriate after Middlesbrough's result this week and their progress into the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup that we're talking to a Middlesbrough fanatic, Rob Nichols, who edits the magnificent Fly Me to the Moon, which in my humble opinion is one of the best fanzines in the country. Long-standing, of course, it was named after Tony Mowbray. But it'd be lovely talking to Rob, not just about the fanzine and this fanatical support and loyal support for Middlesbrough, but also about events this week, because they're already being written off, aren't they? I've read in a few papers in the last couple of days, people saying it's all set for a Chelsea-Liverpool League Cup final. Well, I'm sure Rob will be disagreeing.
It doesn't surprise me either. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I'm sure Michael Carrick would have it no other way. And my second best guest lad is someone you all know well, Damien Spellman of the Press Association. And what I'll be doing, as well as looking forward to the busy festive programme, we'll be looking back on a year which has seen highlights, lowlights, a typical North East year, really.
Cheers, Ian.
Cheers.
Great stuff, thanks, Ian. Ian Murter with us after the Three Legends finishes at 7 o'clock on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. Fellas, there's one subject matter that did take centre stage this week that we've somewhat overlooked. Sunderland. Daz, got yourself a new manager at last.
You sound like the Sunderland fans I've been speaking to.
Not a lot of enthusiasm there, Daz.
No, mate. I mean, listen. I'll never judge anybody before they actually do the job. To be quite honest, I mean, there's a lot of talk about. He's a good coach. He's a really experienced coach. He's really good at that side of things. Whether he's able to take the top spot, will remain to be seen. But there's a lot of good talk about him, producing, on the training pitch. So, I'm looking forward to that. If the stories are true. Obviously, there's the situation of obviously the weekend's game, which wasn't great. Let's be honest, we didn't look great, and we looked a little bit disjointed at times. And it was a strange decision to leave Seal out and Job Bellingham, who were probably two of the best players against Leeds. So yeah, for me, it's a disappointing result. I know everybody's not obviously in favour of the new manager Michael Beale coming in, but all I will say is we've got to give him a chance. Let him get in the hot seat, and let's see where we go from there.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird one, isn't it? A lot of the Sunderland fans are saying they're very underwhelmed by it. And do you think that's just because of the the perceived job he done at Rangers? Because he had a good spell, didn't he, at QPR, where he was linked with the Wolves job, turned it down, and then QPR went on a bad run. Do you think it's just because of the Rangers stuff that people are now looking at him thinking, oh, is he all he's cracked up to be?
Yeah, I think it is because everyone will look at his last position and what happened and how good was he in that position, and let's be honest, it wasn't great, but it wasn't a pure disaster. But I think everyone are judging him on that, mate, and that's that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to judge him already. Once he gets in the position of managing the team and looking after a fair few games, then we'll obviously see what happens from there. But I suppose obviously we've got a manager, which is a bonus. But it's it's when you've got a lot of fans who are disgruntled and not happy, are you just waiting for that that defeat, that little drop in the table, before they all start jumping on his back?
Daz, is that the overwhelming feeling of the fans? Is it? Are they a bit disappointed by the appointment?
Majority of them are, mate. Yeah, I think a majority of them look at the situation and look at obviously the previous manager Tony Mowbray and think, well, where have we gone? Where have we gone with this? Have we gone backwards? Which is looking likely from a lot of the fans. And I think it's a lot of them are really disappointed in the appointment, mate. But you've got to give everybody a chance, I suppose, mate.
Absolutely.
And, let's see how he goes. You can't shoot him down when he's not even taking charge yet.
Daz, do you think he was their number one target?
I don't think personally, no, mate. To be quite honest, I think they've probably looked at a lot of different people, whether it was in their budget criteria. I don't think so, and I think this is just me thinking, mate. But yeah, I think they'll have probably looked elsewhere, mate. And unfortunately, they didn't meet their requirements, and we've ended up getting Michael Beale.
You're a fine, upstanding gentleman, Daz, by saying you've got to back him, you've got to give him a chance. But what about the fans? I mean, the fans seemed so anti the appointment. Underwhelmed was the word that Higgy used that he'd heard. Will the fans give him a chance?
Well, this is what I'm saying, mate. I hope so. I hope they give him a chance and an opportunity because, like we said, Dave, you can't shoot somebody down when they haven't already done a job. So we haven't given him a chance to get in. We haven't given him a chance to have some games. He's got what I think is a ready-made team there. When everybody's fit and ready, to potentially challenge in this league. Obviously, we've talked about the top two spots, which is probably already taken. But we can still be in and around those playoff positions. And let's see what happens. But I'm hoping the fans give him an opportunity because, like I say, that first defeat or that first slide down the table, that I'm sure the fans are going to be raring for somebody's head.
And it's not often, by the way, Dave, that you get to take charge or you get a job at a team that's on the edge of the playoffs and has got such an exciting young team. Normally you're firefighting when you go in for a little bit when you take a new job, but he's got the luxury of going into a team that's fighting at the right end of the table, so he's got a real chance.
This is it, mate.
If he doesn't change a lot too quick, do you know what I mean? I think that's going to be the biggest thing for me is how much he wants to change the football that they play. I'm guessing he won't change it a great deal. I think there might be one or two tweaks, but I don't think he'll change it a great deal. I think when you go in there and you see what Sunderland have got, for me, really, there's only one way they can play, and that's go and have a go.
And like I say, he's got some talented players there, mate, to work with. And I've said, Tony's done a fantastic job in getting that team together, and getting the players playing the way they are. So like you say, there's not a lot to change, but he's put his touch on it a little bit.
Daz, do you think he's a manager that'll take outside influence? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
and by that I mean, where we think people meddle in who should play and who shouldn't play, or give their opinions on who should play. And
do you mean from above, Higgy? Like
yeah.
I think potentially that's what a lot of the fans are thinking, mate. He's the type of guy that'll agree. with certain people, and I'm hoping he's not. I'm hoping he's a bit headstrong. Like Tony was. Tony would ask questions, and I don't think from a manager's point of view that's a bad thing. I think you should be asking questions, and you should be saying because you yourself as a manager have a determination to do well and determination to win games, and I think if we get those opportunities, to ask a question, then so be it. And that's what the board, the board's there for, the hierarchy's there for, to go and ask questions, where we go and what's the direction. And I'm hoping he has that side to him, but I think the fans think the opposite way, mate. And I think the fans think he's just going in to obviously appease everybody else.
But he's been installed as a head coach, hasn't he, Daz? That's right, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he has, mate. Yeah.
And he's staying with all the current staff as well, Daz, isn't he?
Yeah. The other two mics are there. Yeah.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that seems to be a model that Sunderland are insisting on, that when the new manager came in, he would have to accept, which is a bit different certainly from your time, Clarke. I mean, what would you think about going into a job and being told these are the guys you're going to work with, you can't bring your backroom staff in?
It's always a difficult one, Dave, because you do want people around you who have worked with you before, understand how you go about your business, and you can trust them and they trust you. When you're going in with new people, you have to build new relationships up with. It's a different way of thinking. Certainly with the model I believe Sunderland have, is that structure down from Christian Speakman, down from the coaches to the head coach. I just think that what you're doing is, are you being really true to yourself if you're not taking your own people in? And I know sometimes you can go into a club, like I did at Kilmarnock when I went to Scotland. I went in on my own and I took on two great lads, Lee McCulloch and Peter Leven, as my assistants, and a goalkeeper coach, Billy Thompson, who was there, and it worked out brilliantly. But for other people, it cannot work out. It doesn't work out so well because, they have a different philosophy to you. They have a different belief. And if you've got a staff that aren't wanting the same thing, aren't having the same beliefs in what they want to do, it can prove difficult, So sometimes when you go into a club like Michael Beale has, and he's going into those staff members, and I know how strong Michael Dodds has a relationship with Christian Speakman from my time at Birmingham, and they've come from there together. So, there'll be that communication between them all the time, whether we think it's right or wrong, and whether they deny it or not. I'm telling you now, they'll be talking, whoever's the manager and whatever, about what's going on with results, with preparation, with the training of the team, because they've been together so long. So, it's an interesting one in terms of. I think that was probably one of the criteria to get the job at Sunderland. You have to go in and work with the staff that's already there.
First game home to Coventry, Daz. What's he to expect?
Yeah. I think he's. I'm hoping he's to expect. Obviously, the players get behind him. The players play the way they've been playing in previous games against Leeds and West Brom. Hoping the fans pack it out, and get behind the team as well as the manager. He's got to expect that. These fans are passionate. And they want to see obviously. Just players going out there and giving their all, mate. At the end of the day, we know we're not going to win every game. But, if the players are out there giving their all and it seems that the manager's taking the team forward, then, you'll always have the fans behind you.
It's always about results, Daz, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's got to be about 100%. Results for him. And do you think he'll get a honeymoon period, Daz, or not, because of the way things have happened with Tony?
I would think so, mate. Yeah, I would think you get a honeymoon period. I think you get it. You get a bit of time to put his little twist on things. But like we said, there's not a lot to change. He's got a talented squad. Young being it, but he's got to work with those young players and obviously get the best out of them, but also look after them as well at the same time.
Well, we're at that point where we've got to start looking at the games and giving us your thoughts and your predictions. So we might as well start with Sunderland and start with Daz. What are you going for?
I'm going for a 2-0, mate. I'm going for a clean sheet. even though obviously we conceded in the last game. But I'm going for a 2-0 home win.
Boys?
Oh, I'm going to go a 2-1 win, Sunderland.
Lee, thoughts?
New manager bounce. Yeah, I'll go 1-0 Sunderland.
1-0 Sunderland, so all three of you going for Sunderland victory. Be a good start. 1 and 2 next. Let's stay in the Championship. Borough, also at home. West Brom, Higgy. Wow.
Yeah, it's a tough one for this. Tails should be up after the 2 results they've had. Still don't think they look convincing at the back, but I think they might nick it. I'm going to go 2-1 again for Borough. I think I got it right last week, didn't I, with the 2-1? So I'm going to stick to 2-1.
Daz?
I'm going to go 1-0 Borough.
Wow. Clarke?
Clean sheet like that.
I'm going to listen to what Higgy told us last weekend, and I'm going to go 5-4 Borough.
What, you think Borough can score 5 in a game?
Well, I ain't seen them. You said they can't keep a clean sheet.
All the centre forwards are injured, man.
Oh, dear.
The top scorer's only got 7.
Well, they're gonna break all records this weekend. Santa's on his way.
I like it.
Good stuff.
I like it.
So all three go for a Borough win in various forms. That leaves us with the Prem. So Newcastle on the travels, Lee, playing the Hatters.
Yeah, not a good history at Luton, to be honest with you, lads. But the players who turn up will find it a little bit different than most of the Premier League stadiums I go to. But I think they'll grind out a tough 2-1 win.
I think it'll be a tough place with Luton, especially with what happened, obviously, with their skipper last week. But I do think Newcastle will have too much for them, and I think it'll be 2-0.
I'm going to go with Clarke. I'm going to go with Clarke and go over as a 2-1 Newcastle win.
So that's all three. That's all three winning for all three.
We're going to have a full house this
Merry
week.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's a season of goodwill, Dave. Come on.
It's a Christmas present to all the football fans in the Northeast.
It is, mate.
Good lad.
Exactly.
It's a miracle if it happens.
We're done. Fellas, have a fantastic Christmas day. Enjoy it with the family.
Cheers, guys.
And apart from Lee, who's going to get some suntan, we'll catch you all next Friday before the new year kicks in.
Lovely. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Top man.
Merry
Cheers,
Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, guys. Have a good one, lads.
Yeah.